What's up, everybody? We're back this time with a video on how to get silver on Kel Voreth, or however you pronounce this. Anyways, it's going to be real simple. If you watched my other video, then you know about what I'm about to say, but either way, if you didn't, you need to know that you need to know about stun rotation. Stun rotation is the order you set people up in order to stun the enemies during their main moves. A lot of this video is going to be fast forwarded due to the fact that I don't feel like I should have to explain to people how to clear trash, but there's going to be a few moves you're going to want to look out for, such as Rupture, Conflagrate, but that's later on. Here you can see we're approaching the first boss. His main attack is a frontal cleave. You're going to want to not be around that, and behind him he's going to be doing a kick move, kind of like a donkey would do. So you're going to want to kind of stay on the sides of him as best as you can and not do what I'm doing right now. He has one move that you're going to want to stun, and that's called Thrash. It's going to kick you up in the air and force you away from him and do some serious damage. If you don't stun that, this fight's probably going to end for you pretty quick, but he hits you away and it causes you to knock your weapon to the ground. You can pick up your weapon and get back in the fight for a second, but these little bugs right here are going to chase after you. It's your job to kite them away to the nearest trap. That's that thing on the ground right there. It picks them up, and then you can go back into the fight. That is almost the entirety of the fight. He does another move called Mutilate, which he jumps on somebody, but that can be very easily healed through. So basically, you're just going to go through and stop those same moves over and over again, and this fight is going to be very simple. Some people actually farm this fight for the chance to get some, get the challenge loot. The challenge is just not to hit any traps. It's not overly difficult if you tank in the middle, but you can get overwhelmed by the bugs eventually. So that being said, you head up top, look at your optionals. You're going to need to complete the optionals in every single dungeon if you want to get silver or higher. So in this case, we have to free some slavers, go around, kill those guys. Not featured in this video is the optional boss that you can get when you go up some stairs here. We'll see around this corner, those stairs right there. Going up there, there is a boss that you can get that is in this area right here. It's a very easy boss. You only have to do one move. Every time it casts, you run away from it. You do periodical sprints in order to get away from the thing that's going to be trailing you on the ground, the hot feet we call it, and you just use a move called the candy cane to the right, where you go up and curl away from your teammates. If you're all curling in the same direction, you won't overlap and you'll be fine. You stun one move and then you beat the optional boss. Very simple. Either way, you clear the trash to the second boss. This is the boss that most people wipe on and most people have troubles with in KV. It's not that difficult if you know a few little tricks here. People call them exploits, but I mean, they're going to get rid of them eventually, I'm sure. But for one in particular, you'll see here, it's going to make this fight a lot easier on you. But there's only one move that you need to worry about during this. It's called Suppression, and we'll get to that in a second. I recommend highly, as you can see here, switch one of your moves to a CC break. You're going to want to be able to get away from a tether in order to get to a specific location on the map in order to not get blown up by his giant move. So, the first phase of this fight is very straightforward. You're going to be just DPSing him. He's not going to do much of anything other than cast a move on the ground. That's that right there. That's very easy to get away from. This shouldn't take too long, especially if you have some good DPS. We always carry an 1800 warrior in our pocket because those guys are ridiculous. He puts up some crazy DPS, and we end up on the second phase where a bunch of these little things are going to come out. You don't have to worry about any of them at all. This is the last one, this one that pops out right here in front of us. You turn, you DPS this down, and you're going to be in the perfect location where you only have to kill one of these, and you don't have to worry about the other ones because they blow up. See, if you were out in the middle, you'd have to avoid all those things, but you don't in this case. The second phase of this fight just introduces two of those that will track after you and blow up. If you're a tank, it's your job to pull this guy backwards slowly. And keep aggro, obviously, and keep the bombs away from you while he also throws down the original little AoE move on the ground there. Once again, nothing too difficult about this point. The part that people are probably going to encounter that causes them to wipe first is the next phase of the fight, but we'll get to that in just a second. Once again, not very hard. It doesn't take very long as you got a good amount of DPS here. Just get away from those bombs, and this area that I'm in right now, he's going to call out a name. That person's going to take damage over time, and it's going to require the healer to be healing him, but also those things that are not moving, they chase after you and they blow up if they get next to you. So if they get within range of you, they blow up. However, if you stand in this spot, in the first phase, they won't come after you at all. So here you can see they're stacking up over in the corner. The good part is this doesn't necessarily work for the second part, so if you're not into sitting in this corner for the third phase of the fight, then you'll be able to see what you should do. But either way, I don't see why you wouldn't jump up here and just basically skip one of the harder phases, because it switches targets and it can be confusing for newcomers into this. I also recommend, and a lot of people don't like hearing it, going into these places and just putting your, head down to the grinding stone and trying to learn the fights. Even if you don't, get a silver, don't worry, because you really need to see these fights in order to really get them. After this phase, he comes out and he's going to be doing the same exact thing he did last time. You're going to DPS him down again, and from there it's pretty straightforward. Just drop some deeps, avoid the bombs, and stay out of the little AoE that doesn't do much damage. With a decent healer, you won't really have to worry about hitting those too often. But he also tethers people in this phase. This is where you're going to want to use your CC break. I didn't bother using mine because there's other times where you can get tethered, but this wave goes out. You want to head to this back corner right here because the wave doesn't reach there. So after he does this move, he's going to come in, and this is the important part, and you will wipe, guaranteed, if you don't kill this. Well, maybe not guaranteed, but pretty close to guaranteed if you don't get this move right here called suppression. He goes down on one knee, you need to stun that. It puts him in a moment of opportunity, allows you to do double damage, which you're going to want to do. But if that move goes off, it does a very large AoE that's very hard to heal through and very hard to dodge. So with that guy down, you enter the phase that I was warning you guys about earlier, where these bombs come out, or these trackers or whatever, these augmented things come out, and they attempt to run after the person. The reason that you can't use the trick where you stand in the corner is because in this phase they introduce bombs that come out at the same time. So if you're standing in the corner, the bombs are just going to run to you, they're going to blow up, and they're going to kill you, and that's no good. So what you want is a team who carries things like Ripsaw, a team who carries grapples and stuns, and you want to grapple and stun these things while your healer runs around after the person it's tracking and freeze them up. Now the trick with being the person who's tracked is don't make crazy movements. You can't just sprint from one end of the room to the other because of the fact that you're going to get caught. Here you can see I have to cut back, but it's not a crazy sprinting match, especially if your team's helping you out a little bit. And not only that, but you'll lose the healer. So you just get these guys and you kite them as slowly as you can over to this area. And you can jump in this area in order to stop them if the bombs aren't a factor for you. But either way, it's a left to right kind of situation where you run across the edge of the room. You're going to want to use your CC breaks to get out of the tethers. Go to the same spot because the giant AoE that's slowly coming out can't get you. And you want to stun his suppression again. At this point, if you have decent DPS, you're not going to have to go through this phase too many times, but I've been in situations where you have to do it 2 or 3 times. Here, I don't believe we have to, so as long as you're avoiding the bombs, you're going to take down the second boss of KV and the boss that people have the most trouble with without much of a problem. Most of the time the challenge in this situation, because I didn't mention it, is not to get hit by the giant lasers that are out while you're running. Not a very hard thing, but they can pop up and surprise you. So you're going to go back to more optionals at this point. You're going to be running up this area and you're going to be heading towards the last boss, but in this time I won't do a whole bunch of talking because there's not really a lot to do. But you're going to be trying to avoid the major moves these guys do. Release the Hounds is not the move. I don't remember exactly what it is right now. But take your CC breaks off, fight the garbage here, and we'll get back to what we're doing. And at this point, if you've downed the second boss without failing or wiping at all, then you're going to have quite a bit of extra time. This particular boss uses a move called conflagrate, whatever. It sets you on fire. You're going to want to stun that move for sure because that also makes it a lot easier on your healer. You're going to go around collecting things. You're going to approach a lot of these, especially if you have to get slavers, but you're going to want to make sure you stun 2 moves, conflagrate and rupture. Those are the 2 moves you're looking for, and if you don't see them when they're casting it, you should probably download an add-on. This person right here does moves that are pretty intense. It goes down fast, but you want to make sure you stun that rupture. Also, the optional on this is usually to kill a certain amount of enemies in a certain time. Not an overly hard thing if you got the DPS, but you can skip a lot of the trash here. Once again, stunning that rupture, keeping heals on the person that gets like a move that does time and locks people down and does damage to them. I believe the move on this guy you're looking for is Mighty Swing, so if you can get the stun off on that, it's going to help out people a lot more. This is a situation where you can skip a lot of these if it's not in your optional quests to kill any more than you already have, but if you have to kill them, then you have to kill them. There's not much you can do about it. Just for the record, this wasn't a perfect run. We didn't get gold on it. A couple things happened that made it so we couldn't get the challenges done, but we do actually have enough time to where we wiped twice in here due to the fact that we had a new member in here, and you know, learning these fights can be kind of tough, especially during the last boss. So if you see any discrepancies in the time that we're doing here, it's because we actually wiped twice on this boss right here. But what we're doing right here is going in to fight the boss. If you are a very high distance range class like a Spellslinger, Esper, or Engineer, you can actually do damage to him while he's in here. I've seen people take 10% of the boss health off while he's supposed to be doing a AoE move that doesn't hit you. These things are impossible to dodge. We have a joke that says that you get kicked out of the guild if you can't dodge this actual part. It's super easy, but this boss has some mandatory stuns in it as well, and this is the final boss. So you're going to look for a Volcanic Strike. You're going to want at least 2 teams of people on your stun rotation, and you're going to stun him, do as much damage as you can while he's in his moment of opportunity there, and he's going to go to his next phase, which is a dodging phase, which is not real hard to deal with, but you're going to want to set quadrants, the back left, stairs, close right, close left, and that's in order to get those green orbs. If he gets those green orbs, he's going to get a huge buff on damage that you actually get if you get them, and it's going to make his Volcanic Strike really, really hard to deal with. Also, that's the challenge on this boss, is to not let him get any of the green orbs. Not very hard as long as you set up the quadrants for it. As soon as you get those green orbs, he's probably going to lead directly into a Volcanic Strike, so get ready to stun immediately after that. But if he does get green orbs, there's a real good chance the fight's going to get a lot harder than you can handle. Here you can see the dodge phase. This isn't very hard. We just recommend that you stare down the screen the whole time. You don't want to lose your character. You kind of want to keep a close eye on where you're at, but you're dodging actually the red telegraph that's underneath the yellow blades that are coming at you. And getting past that is not overly difficult, but if you get hit once, you can't panic because that'll absolutely wipe the hell out of you. So go back in, you're going to be doing the same thing, trying to get a stun on the Volcanic Strike, and he's going to go into the same phase where the green orbs come out, and it's not going to be that difficult. The only problem is this time he actually shoots blades out of himself while he's doing this. So what we recommend is sprinting away from him as far as you can, turning around, and dodging the incoming blades that way. That way you can see him, otherwise they'll take you out super fast and you'll die trying to get the green orbs. You can get past those 2 phases and you can stun the Volcanic Strike regardless of how much DPS you have. This is actually a very quick fight, so you'll find yourself in possession of some new gear and part of your attunement down. Also, at this point, I'd like to bring up that Dark Hand is openly recruiting right now, so if it's something you're interested in, you can go to the website that I'll link below and put in an application to get into the guild. Maybe if you want to get in some videos and soon be raiding, which will be awesome. Either way, that's pretty much Kel Voreth in a nutshell. This is the dungeon that most people start out with after STL or even before STL, because once you get it, it seems really silly and really easy and has the most potential for you to get gold. So, hope you enjoyed the video.